Tyreek Hill in the It Needed to Be Said podcast, okay, has said a lot of stuff here, D-Butt. And I appreciate the fact that it all seems to be revolving around putting over Tua and making people stop talking shit on Tua, which is exactly what a wide receiver is going to do for his quarterback. I believe we talked about that last week. But some of the things he said, I wonder if somebody else, the other host could have said this stuff, and he could have just been there. You know what I mean? Like, I know he's saying it, but I think immediately upon him saying these things, a lot of people go, oh, look at this cocky fucking asshole immediately. Yeah. But everything he's saying, I think, is 100% real. So I think the delivery, here, let's run a couple of these clips from the It Needed to Be Said podcast.
As far as accuracy-wise, I'm going with Tua all day.
So which one would you rather have? The deep ball where you got to scramble around the field to try to go find it? Or do you want that accuracy to hit you right in the bread basket on the run?
I want it to hit me right in the bread basket, just like I did in the Buffalo Bills game, and take it 70. And the rest is history.
And again, this is not a shot at anybody.
Right. Again.
This is just stuff that had to be said.
It needed to be said.
It needed to be said.
And then the next clip comes from the It Needed to Be Said podcast, which, by the way, perfectly titled. Yeah. It sounds like perfectly titled from Tyreek Hill. Here's the next clip.
But look, this is what I want inside the building. I want the head coach to know that on Sundays, that defenses fear Tyreek Hill. That's what I want the head coach to know. And the head coach do know that, though. He know that. He know that without the cheat on the field, he know that, hey, Pat, you're going to have a long day today. You know what I'm saying? Pat, he heck of a quarterback, hell of a player. I love him to death, but come on, man. Sometimes I just want people to just be like, hey, Tyreek, like him.
I concur, by the way, with everything he's saying, but to create a podcast to say this stuff, you're immediately going to get drawback that you're a cocky asshole. Does Tyreek care, and you like what he's doing, D-Bud?
Obviously, he doesn't care. He's a receiver. Receivers are historically, divas. And it's a podcast. I'm assuming, a new podcast. So obviously, you want to drop the numbers up. You get the clips out. The host is asking all the right questions. He kind of tried to clean it up and say, hey, there's no shot at Pat. Great quarterback, which we all know. But like you said, you have to agree with some of it. Cheetah he brings a different element to the football field with his rare combination of speed, quickness, athleticism, and he can go up and get the ball. And then you move on to tour. It's like moving on to a new girl, new girlfriend or something. You got to make this new girl seem or sound like the best girl available. And that's what he's doing with Tua. You got a new head coach, Mike McDaniels. You're making $30 million a year. You're in Miami. Gas your guy up, man. I love it. And it's rubbed off on Tua. Tua's talking this shit like we talked about last week. So I like it, Tyreek.
Hey, I don't mind.
It needed to be said, Tyreek.
Yeah, hey, I don't mind it, by the way, because if other people aren't saying it, by the way, I think we have said it about him numerous times.
Oh, yeah.
But it is not the common narrative that Tyreek Hill is the reason why that Kansas City Chief offense goes. He's normally third in line, right? Patrick Mahomes gets the credit. Travis Kelce, who has more yards than anybody, wide receiver or tight ends in the last 6 years, he gets credit. Then Tyreek Hill was next. And I wonder if Tyreek Hill heard all that and was upset about it. But also in that same conversation, I think he said, everybody that's talking about me just taking money would not be doing their job if they weren't being paid for it. So kind of a hypocrisy. So he pointed out a lot of great stuff. I just think a lot of people, immediately upon hearing it are going to be able to find things to not listen to the message and pick apart how it's being delivered. But who gives a fuck, I guess.
Yeah.
What if Tyreek and Tua go on to be just absolute superstar sensation? He has said a lot of things on there, AJ. Have you heard these clips, and how do you feel about it?
I have heard most of the clips, and he has said a lot of things, and he's only one episode in, correct?
Yeah, I think that's all from one sitting there. Yeah, one episode, 45 clips, all of them catching fire.
I mean, that's a real attention grabber to let people know that you have a podcast. Hopefully he's redirecting them to subscribe to that thing, because I'll listen if he's this open and honest every single week. It sounds like, I think you mentioned it earlier in the show. It makes sense. When people talk to the Chiefs, they talk Mahomes, Kelce, and then Tyreek. So anywhere else, Tyreek's probably first in line in that when you mention them, or right behind a quarterback, or 1A, 1B with the quarterback. So I don't know if that bothers him that much or not. He's a stud. He's going to be making plays in Miami. But, yeah, I guess we get to see a little bit of what's going on in his mind.
It feels like Tyreek is, fed up with how people outside the NFL talk about him. Because in his mind, and I would assume around the NFL, defensive coordinators are like, all right, we got to find Tyreek, and then we got to take care of Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Like, that is potentially how the NFL and defense coordinators are looking at the Chiefs. I would assume Tyreek would like everybody else to talk like that as well.
Yeah, probably. And, yeah, well, you're right. When you mention Tyreek to anybody in the league, if they're a defensive coach, defensive player, the first thing they do is just like groan or sigh and be like, oh man. And then they go into like 5 different stories, how you thought you had him all hemmed up. You had 9 different defenders on him, and he still somehow beat you for a game-winning touchdown. Like, that's what happens when you mention Tyreek's name.
Foxy, can we run the second clip from the It Needed to Be Said podcast? Because I think what Tyreek wants is for people to speak like this about him, and I think we have spoke about this about him, but I do believe somebody else should have said this other than Tyreek, just strictly because people will say, oh, listen to this asshole, as opposed to listening to the actual words that are very true. But he has a lot of confidence, as he should, because this guy's a fucking game changer. This is from the It Needed to Be Said podcast, hosted by Tyreek Hill.
But look, this is what I want inside the building. I want the head coach to know that on Sundays, that defenses fear Tyreek Hill. That's what I want the head coach to know. And the head coach do know that, though. He know that. He know that without the cheat on the field, he know that, hey, Pat, you're going to have a long day today. You know what I'm saying? Pat, he heck of a quarterback, hell of a player. I love him to death, but come on, man. Sometimes I just want people to just be like, hey, Tyreek, like him. You know?
Yeah, hey, by the way, everything he's saying is right. I assume that is a conversation that's taking place between Patrick and Andy Reid. It's going to be a little bit different this year. Still got Travis Kelce, the leading receiver of the last 6 years out of everybody. But it is different when you got a cheetah running back and forth in the backfield and then never getting tired. He is vastly different than anybody else in the league, although now he is the second fastest guy in the NFL, AJ.